Hi everyone. So in this particular video, we are going to understand how to configure IPS on a FortiGate firewall and what are the reasons or logic behind configuring one. Okay, because a lot of times when you are implementing the IPS, there are certain customer requirements. On the basis of that, you have to take up a call of what signatures to add and what not. Okay, so we're going to understand those things today, and we're going to quickly understand that how to go about configuring the IPS. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, in this particular setup, we all know that we have an entire network architecture for abc.com where we have a FortiGate firewall in an HA mode, and then we have a switch which is connected to multiple network locations and devices. All right. Now, let's say, for example, you have to configure an IPS on this particular FortiGate firewall, which the goal is that it should scan the traffic which is coming from the inside the abc.com and going outside for any kind of malicious or any kind of what do you say, virus activity which could potentially cause issues in the network. All right, so how will you do that, and what will you do to make sure the signatures are called correctly? Okay, so this is what we are going to understand today. I'm going to log into this particular FortiGate firewall, and so FortiGate North is the one which I'm going to log into. All right, and over here, I'll just quickly show you that it's a blank FortiGate firewall, does not have anything. So I'm going to configure everything in front of you. Okay, it just have port 1 IP address which I'm using to log into the firewall as well, right? And we don't have anything else apart from this. Okay, now no IP addresses, nothing at all. And just to quickly show you the firewall policies, no firewall policies. Okay, and of course no security profiles as such. Okay, now what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to first of all go into the intrusion prevention. Okay, and you can see a lot of IPS profiles which are by default. Okay, now what by default basically mean is that it has predefined signatures with the default settings. Okay, so those can be used if in case you are trying to implement in a very generic manner. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up the default IPS profile which basically prevents the critical attacks. So you have to understand those things. Okay, click on this, and this is the by default IPS signatures that you will get. Now over here, if you look, it says prevent critical attacks. That's the comment section, and then you have a block malicious URLs. So if you enable this up, FortiGate is in continuous sync with your what do you say, the FortiGuard, right? So the FortiGuard will basically make sure that if in case there is any URLs which are considered as malicious, they will be blocked. Okay, so that's the whole point of enabling the block of malicious URLs, which is absolutely correct. And this is a recommendation as well, that if in case you are implementing your IPS, make sure this particular option is enabled as well. Okay, now next comes the IPS signatures and the filters. Okay, over here you can see that we have used SEV. Okay, SEV stands for severity. All right, and there's no exemptions over here. Action is default depending on what severity levels you have. There are various actions. I'm going to talk about this a little later. And then you have the packet logging, which is disabled. That means if in case the traffic matches any of these patterns, okay, from the severity levels, it will either allow, okay, or it will either block, but it won't log that particular traffic, right? So you won't see anything in the logs for that particular traffic which is going on, which I probably won't prefer this. Packet logging should be enabled, but the whole point is that if you're enabling the packet logging, it would have a little bit of impact on your CPU and memory. All right, depending on your customer's organization, you have to take up that call. Okay, if you have a higher end firewall, I would probably say go about and enabling this up. If you have something which is in an SMB, which is small to medium business enterprises, you can take up a call. If your CPU utilization is less than 30%, you can go ahead about and enabling the packet logging. If in case it is already 50% or 60% on a normal day, then probably I'll not suggest you to do that. Okay, again, it's a call that you have to take, understanding the FortiGate's requirement. Okay, so that is the current setup that we have. Let's go ahead and make certain changes to it. Okay, now see what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to Click on edit. Now see over here, we can have the add signatures. In the add signatures, you have the filter of either you can, search the signatures on the basis of a filter, or you can search on the basis of the pretty specific signature that you have. Okay. Now see the amount of signatures that you might have, that depends on your model, FortiGate model, and when was it last updated. Okay. So it is not necessary that if I have 5,000 signatures, you should also have that, or if you have more than that, great. And it's actually good if you have more than that. Okay, it's an evaluation license. Of course, I would have a little less, right? Now, moving on to the filter, we have action, as I said, default, right? So in the default, you have a lot of options: allow, monitor, block, reset, default. So again, depending on the signature, it would either be allowed or monitor or block. Okay, so if you look closely, you can see you have certain signatures which are blocked. Okay, and yeah, there you go. You have a signature which is allowed. Okay, and you'll have a couple of them which will be either in other states which is blocked, or sorry, monitor as well. So point over here is, depending on what the signature is, if it is a genuine activity, it would be allowed. If it is not a genuine activity, it would be blocked. So these signatures are, in general, most of them are blocked. Severity basically means where you have a lot of categories or filters that you can use to call your signature. See, for example, I'll remove this severity over here. Okay, and I'll remove this particular as well, and I'll remove this one as well. Okay, so see over here, what will happen is that as of now, I haven't selected any of the filters, right? So it is showing up, the total number of signatures which this particular FortiGate firewall has. Now, if let's say, for example, I want to scan anything which has a target, the TGT. The TGT basically means it is a target. Okay. Okay, and SEV is the severity. Okay, so point is that the target, if it is the client, is the target, meaning the traffic is coming from the outside. Okay, so the traffic is coming from the outside to your LAN, or maybe it could be your DMZ where you have a server. So if the target is the client, okay, and the communication is going over there, then there are certain signatures that you can call. If the target is your server, then there are certain signatures that you can call. Again, the category, depending on the category, you will be able to see various numbers of signatures. Okay, just to show you once more. So if I click on target client, see, I have around 3,366 signatures. If I uncheck this and I just select server, then I have around 3,685 signatures. If I remove this, and let's say, for example, I take up FTP. So with respect to FTP, I have around 956 signatures. Now, again, this is an evaluation license. So I'm pretty sure I have a lower end signatures, and it's not even updated. Point is, in your case, it would be different, but you would know that, okay, if you are selecting something, what this basically means. Okay, so if you are selecting a couple of protocols, then a total of 1,000 signatures adds up to these particular protocols. Okay, so if your customer is saying that, okay, I want to have scanning just for DNS, then you can go about selecting the DNS, and you can have applied or 64 IPS signatures onto that. Okay, so again, it is your discretion on what is the customer requirement, and on the basis of that, you have to select the filters on that. What I'm going to do is that you can either select the severities. So if I do this, I mean, in a way, I'm actually selecting everything. So you can see I have all the signatures called up. Okay, now over here you can do this as either, so by default basically means, according to the signature, it will take up the call of whether it should allow or block. So see, the first signature is blocked, the second one is allowed. Okay, so depending on the signature and its nature and behavior, it will be either allowed or blocked. So if you keep this action as default, if I forcefully say allow, then does not matter if the action of that particular signature is called as blocked, it would be allowed because I'm forcefully allowing that particular signature. Same goes for monitor, block, reset, and default and quarantine. Okay, so I'll go ahead with the block option. Packet logging, again, as I said, depending on your model and the CPU memory utilization, you have to take up a call. So you can enable that. Okay, status, again, enable or disable. Default basically means it will take up the signatures default behavior. If you go about enabling that, it means it will be active all across. Okay, so I'll click on OK. Now this basically means I have all the signatures called up with all the severities and it will be blocked. Okay. Now the botnet CNC, this is command and control for botnets. Should this be enabled or should it not be enabled? It has to be on block or it has to be on monitor. See, monitor is if you are deploying the FortiGate firewall for the first time. 1 week monitoring will give you an idea of what kind of traffic is actually going through your organization. Okay, and on the basis of that, you can either disable block the outgoing connections to botnet sites. I'll always recommend start, if you have not done this, start with monitor. Monitor your entire organization for let's say about a week, and you will have a good understanding of your network health. Okay, sorry, it's network health that is going through the firewall. Okay, so if you haven't enabled it, do not go about using the block as of now. I'll probably say start with the monitor, and then eventually if you feel, you should be starting off with the block. Okay, so this is how you should be starting off with the options to enable or disable in the IPS. Okay, now so this is the default one. Click on OK. Now I have made changes to the default particular IPS category, right? Now, of course, I have to do something because this security profile, I have to call this, security profile into a policy and object. Okay, so it's like keys in a keychain. All right, so these are all keys, all right, which are called in the policies, which is a keychain. Okay. So I'm going to the policy and objects, firewall policy. I'll create a new one. Okay, and just for simplicity, let's say LAN-WAN port 3. See, port 3 is because it's connected to port 3 over here with this, with the switch, and the switch is connected to user PC2, right? So you know what, I'll do one thing. I'll power on one of my Windows machine also in the meantime. Okay, outgoing connection is port 1 again, port 1 over here. That's my WAN connection. Okay, ISP. Source, I'll call it up as all for now. Destination is all because internet, right? Service all. Now I do need to have NAT because otherwise I won't be able to access internet. Okay, so and over here in the security profiles, now this is the place where you have to enable the IPS. Okay, now as soon as you do this, it will start by default selecting the IPS profile, which is called as default. If in case you have a custom profile or if you have created a new profile, go with that. Or since in our case, in our lab environment, we are using the default one, so I'm going to select that. Okay, certificate inspection is of course very much necessary when it comes to the IPS or application control. Okay, now details about certificate and deep inspection and all these things are covered in my course, FortiGate Firewall Mastery, where I've taken up IPS and application control for I think 3 to 4 hours in depth. Everything that you need to know about the IPS, it's there from the scratch. So point over here is that whenever you implement any kind of a UTM profile, right? So you have to make sure that you have certificate inspection, the basic requirement, the minimum requirement that you have. If you do not have any UTM inspection, then you can basically go with no inspection. Okay, but yeah, if in case you have application control, I'll show you right now. If I enable IPS, there you go. It sees automatically started off with a certificate. Now logging, I would have to start with all the traffic because I want to make sure everything gets logged for this particular policy. Okay, now there you go. I have the configuration over here. Firewall policy, it's a LAN to WAN basic policy. This is created to check the IPS that you have. Now again, it's an evaluation license, nothing is updated, so there is a higher probability that it might not really work. But the concept behind sharing this information with you guys is that you should know that when you're implementing the IPS, what are the thought behind, what are the logic behind it. Okay, now what I need to do is I have to configure this user PC. Okay, with an IP address. Okay, so I already have a 32.5 and 32.1 is my gateway. 32.1 is my FortiGate firewall's port 3, which I would have to configure because again it's a brand new FortiGate firewall. So admin, okay, config system interface, edit port 3, set IP 192.168 dot sorry 2.1, okay, /24, set allow access. I would need ping for now, and that's pretty much it. Nothing more required. And very good. So let me just try this and ping my system, and I can ping. Great. So basic network connectivity is there. Let me just quickly check the Windows machine as well. So it is coming up slowly. Chalo, in the meantime, let me just show you with the user PC. Let's see if it does anything or not. Okay. So let's go about, okay, FortiGate user PC 2. So I'll go about pinging 1.1.1.1. Okay. Now I can ping 1.1.1.1 because by default, I have a firewall policy in place. Okay. 0 bytes. Just refresh and you can see, the traffic is going outside. Right now, the whole point of this is that the traffic is going out and it is going through the inspection of IPS. Okay. Now, again, as I said, that it's evaluation license. This is not supposed to work anyway. Right. So let me just show you that in the forward traffic. Yeah, there you go. So I can see a couple of traffic coming in, but I do not see ping over here. Let me refresh. Going to the IPS. Do we have anything? No. Yeah, because it does not really have anything which would potentially be something which could, create problems. So let me see what IP address we have over here. IP config, and it's 32.10 with 32.1. This is okay. Now let me try one thing real quick once more. So let me try see, what I've actually done is that I have implemented or enabled the IPS, but then no signatures are matching what we are doing right now. Okay, so let me do one thing. I will go ahead and I'll create a custom signature. Okay, I'll create a custom signature and I'll map it to the FortiGate firewall over here, which I normally do this in the training that I normally take. So I'll go about I might have added just 1 second. Let me pause this for a minute. Okay. Now, so what I have done is in the IPS signatures, okay, there's a specific. So there's one called intrusion prevention, and then you have IPS signatures. If in case you want to make any changes in the custom, if you want to have a custom signature database, if you have something which is very specific in your organization, okay, you can create custom signatures as well. Okay. So I have created a custom signature for Google Ping. Okay. And I'm going to block this up. Okay, you will see that I would lose access to pinging a specific Google IP address. Okay, again, this is all covered in the course. So point is that I've blocked this up and I'll go about enabling this in the intrusion prevention. So if you look over here, I have enabled the Google Ping. What I'll do is I'll click on edit over here and I'll enable the status and I'll enable the packet logging as well. Okay, so I can see information on the logs as well, right? So this is enabled, and in the firewall policy, this is a part of the IPS, of course, because I have called this particular test signature or the Google signatures in the default IPS. So, and this is called, so basically what you're in a way, what you're doing is you have created an IPS signature, right, for Google. Now this is called in the default IPS profile, and this IPS profile is called up in the policy. Hence, that's what you call as A equals to B equals to C, right? Or A equals to C. That's what we did, right? So go ahead and let's try this once more. I'll take up the PC which I have over here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you that my ping will work for 1.1. Okay, no kind of any block over there. But if I try the general Google DNS server, which is 8.8.8.8, this is blocked. Okay, so IPS signature is getting activated over here, and it is blocking the 8.8 for me. Okay, and not anything else. Okay, so if I want to ping something else, I can definitely do that. So 4.2.2.2, I can do that as well. Okay, so point is, it is looking for a couple of signature patterns, and on the basis of those pattern, it is blocking the 8.8. Okay, now can I see this information? Absolutely. If you go into the logs, forward traffic. Okay, now look over here. For 4.2, it is showing up that, hey, you know what, I'm actually allowing that particular traffic. 1.1, yes, it is allowed. Any other kind of traffic which is an update from the system, allowed. Okay, but go over here in the intrusion prevention, and there you go. Do you see this? The amount of traffic which matched the attack name Google ping, okay, which is a custom signature which we created, the action is dropped. Okay, this is what I meant when I said packet logging enabled or not. So this is how you'll get this information over here, and it is completely, it is showing you information which is getting blocked from the IPS signatures. Okay, anything which is getting blocked in the intrusion prevention, it will show up over here, not on the forward traffic. It is not supposed to be there. Forward traffic is generic traffic which is getting allowed from the FortiGate firewall, that will be shown over here. Anything which is specific and it is getting blocked, it will show up over here in the intrusion prevention. That's what we did to show you that if in case a signature gets activated, this is how it gets activated, and how you should get, how you'll get that information over here. Plus, we also discussed about that when you are implementing intrusion prevention, what are the things that you need to take care in mind, how to go about adding signatures and filters over here, and what those basically mean when we go about saying that these are the severity levels or the action or the packet logging, all these things. So this is what we discussed about. Again, this was more about to understand the intrusion prevention from an additional level of understanding of how to implement this on a FortiGate firewall. And if in case you want to make sure it is correctly configured, what are the process and the steps for it? Okay, so this is what we discussed. Again, if you have anything with respect to this particular video, go about, comment down below. If something needs to be added, I'll definitely do that. And if you want anything more apart from this on the FortiGate firewall, comment down below. I'll be happy to create a video on that as well. Till that time, I wish that you become a FortiGate firewall master, and see you in the next video. Good night. Bye bye.